gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be alright. Good morning and welcome to News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Borston Hill. It's Monday again, Calvin, on February 21st, as this month, another month quickly passes us. And today is also President's Day. So, how are you doing this morning, Calvin?
I'm doing quite well, Renee. It's a great day to be right here in the house, awesome radio where we have news and politics today.
Right. So, and we are here at Awesome Radio 106.9 FM WBIS. And just to get us started, Calvin, I'm going to give the call in number, which is 252-756-2008. And anytime you want to join this conversation, feel free to jump in. But as usual, what we always start our show with is the update on COVID. And just like I saw a heading today, who is dying from COVID? Still mainly the unvaccinated. Do you want to add to that, Calvin?
Well, Renee, and you're right. I mean, the thing is, so many people are dying today from COVID, and it's over 2,000 people per day that are still dying from COVID. That is a lot of people that is still dying. So we need to make sure that we get vaccinated. This is something we're always talking about. We talk about it every Monday. We say, at least I say, that if you love someone and you want to protect them, get the vaccine and wear your mask. It's so important to wear that mask.
And one of the things also that we always say is that as each state decides to relax the mask mandates, or just to relax, and they call, quote unquote, the opening up, just remember who exactly is telling you that it's okay, because the people at the CDC says it's still too early. So Calvin and I, as usual, no matter where we go outside our house, we are definitely maxed up. And I would recommend, because they're talking about another variant already. So we have to be mindful of what's going on. We have to stay awake and just make sure that we know exactly who is coming into our spaces, and also be respectful for those who are in service, for those who are in public, and they are actually working with customers or retail, that respect the spaces between those people. Because number one, people are complaining that there's not enough people who are working. They can't get people to work. And a lot of times people don't want to be exposed to the unvaccinated or the people who are walking around with active COVID and not properly, protecting other people.
Well, Renee, the other thing too is the schools. They relaxed the mask mandate in the schools here in Pitt County. But then I always say that, children need to wear the mask, because they come home and a lot of kids, they might have the variant and not even realize they have it and bring it home to their parents or grandparents. And then you see a lot of children, they have the mask on, but it's below the nose. And I always say, if you're going to wear a mask, wear it above your nose. Otherwise, don't wear it at all, because you're not fooling anyone when you don't have it above your nose.
And just to talk about, I guess every time you turn the news on or you look at your TV, there's constant conversation about Ukraine and the invasion from Russia to Ukraine. And the president is speaking that Russia is going to invade Ukraine. And maybe you have a comment about that. Maybe you have a feeling about us not going into war with Russia. And we do know that a lot of this has been encouraged and empowered by the former, well, I won't even say that. But anyway, he's been given the power. But we also, in what we see in the news, is that the former President Trump, that he took information to his personal lodging that were and are American documents and should have been put into storage. So it's a very funny time to me, Calvin, because I don't know if he took classified information, and we know how he likes to make money any kind of way. We don't know if he sold this information to foreign people, and now they're trying to get this information back, but we never know exactly who has or what has been done to this information, or will it ever really be recovered. The other thing is that the January 6th commission that has been investigating this insurrection, they have uncovered so many things, and they are not allowed to prosecute people who are who have done illegal things. Did you?
Yes, no, you go ahead. You're doing good. I just heard some noise.
Okay. So anyway,
that's what happens when you have live radio.
So anyway, we must also, with all the things that are going on, the redistricting, how they are changing the maps to favor one party over another and giving very little voice to people. So this is our opportunity to let our voices be heard, to say, no, I need to make sure that I have proper representation in this legislation. We now understand that based on just getting this information to us, that there is power in the vote. Um, Again, so many states have put in new voter suppression. Texas is going through a lot. I say pay attention, because what's going on in one state can also go on in your state. And here in North Carolina, we keep our legislators up front, because we do know that came January 6, 2021, when they were now going to certify the elections for President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, there was an insurrection. There was a takeover, or an attempt to take over the Capitol. And once they regained the control of the Capitol and they proceeded with certifying the elections, it's important that we understand that we have representatives that did not vote to certify. Did any of the Republicans vote? Well, anyway, I'm not even going to worry about that. But what I am going to talk about is give the names for here in North Carolina. And there were 147 House of Representatives that did not certify the election. And I suggest that no matter what state you're in, that you get those names of your people. We have a call coming in.
Yes, we have a call coming in. Let's see. Okay.
Good morning. This is News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Boston Hill. Who's calling?
This is Gary Smith.
Yeah, this
Jr.
is Gary Smith.
Yes, Gary. Now we didn't really pronounce you in the beginning, but we're going to do it right now, because this is this is Black History Month, and we always talk about Black history right here on Awesome Radio. And the thing is, we have Gary here. He's going to talk about the Black history, and just to make sure that everybody understands, full disclosure, he is a cousin of mine. And not only that he's a cousin of mine, but I'm continue finding relatives as I live here in North Carolina. I just found out recently that we were related. So Gary, this is Renee Boston Hill. She's the host here at News and Politics Today. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll let her take over from there.
Well, I'm a Tuskegee University graduate. I graduated from Tuskegee with an undergrad in political science. Also, I graduated from Florida A&M with a master's in political science. I'm from upstate New York, Rockland County in particular, and I'm a lover of politics and history and African culture.
All righty. So, welcome to the show, and we're happy that you're here. What subject matter are you going to focus in on today for our listening audience?
Well, my aunt, she wanted me to really go deep into African history, but ancestors telling me something different today.
Okay.
The ancestors are telling me we need to probably focus on, because I see this all the time. It comes up every year. People act like Black history was given to us, and in reality, they'll say they gave us a month, and I'm like, we're not studying if we're saying that. In reality, we took a week, and then we made it a month. And yes, we need to study it 365, but I think we lost the purpose. When Carter G. Woodson first came up with Negro History Week, it was supposed to be a celebration of research. So for 51 weeks, we're supposed to be in the books studying and research, and then we're supposed to be bringing our new findings into life. So in the 1920s, we were just recovering. We was digging up our past. And so that's what I wanted to speak on today was the importance of us digging up our past. Arthur A. Schomburg once said that history must restore what slavery took away, for it's the social damage of slavery that the present generation must repair and offset. And I think that's the key. The major repair, we talk about reparations from time to time, but the major repair that needs to be done is psyche repair, and money can't do that. Now it's the self can. Now it's the self can repair the psyche of a damaged people. And how do we do that? One of the ways is through studying our history and our culture and have a greater appreciation for it. We know that Brother Malcolm once said that of all studies, history is best rewarded to what? Reward all research.
Okay.
So I really want us to focus on getting back to the purpose of us researching, because there's a lot of stuff that's not old, that we think is old hat. What about, picture if Dr. Clark just left J.A. Rogers and said, you know what, J.A. Rogers, you did it. I don't have to do it no more. Picture if Dr. Clark didn't do that.
Okay, now, Gary, what we need when you bring up a name, we need you to tell our awesome radio listeners a little bit about those names you're bringing up.
Okay, so Carter G. Woodson, let me go through the names I just went through.
Okay.
He founded a journal on Negro history. He's also wrote the book. Man, I'm going to blank. Anyway. But Carter G. Woodson, no, he did write the book. For Miseducation of the Negro. He did write the book, The Miseducation of the Negro. Right?
Okay.
And Carter G. Woodson also was, like I said, he had a journal of African studies, of Negro studies, and he was a profound scholar.
Okay.
I mentioned J.A. Rogers. J.A. Rogers is what most people consider the founder of Black history. One of his books, Five Negro Presidents, is one of his books. A lot of books that he wrote, and his early scholarship consisted of newspapers.
Okay.
In the 1800s, there was a lot of stuff coming up in our history that was written in the newspapers, and we know that in the 1800s, most of us weren't allowed to read or can barely read.
Okay. So I don't want to put you on the spot, Gary, to do this research, but one of the things, and this is like an excellent history opportunity for us, is that our show is recorded, and we're on YouTube, we're on Roku, we're on Facebook, and we're on the radio live. And this information, which I'm going to do, is I'm going to be doing some homework, because a lot of times we talk to our listening audience and we say, we didn't even know so much stuff because it wasn't taught to us in the school. So we're trying to do a catch up, and it's not going to be like a 1, 2, 3, because it's been hundreds of years that the damage has been done to us as a race of people. And we continue to strive to regain our strength and our history. And it's so to me, well, to me, I'm just speaking on how I find it, is that I'm learning through hearing people talk about it. I'm learning from trying to do my own research, but I'm so fragmented, I don't even know where to begin. And is there a way that if I wanted to be stronger in my Black history, how would I begin to do some research and to learn it?
Classic book I recommend. Before the Mayflower.
Okay.
Classic book. That would give us a good understanding of the good linkage between Africa and America. Another book is Slavery to Freedom.
Okay.
That's another good book. For those of us who want to go deep into ancient African culture, now contributions to Nile Valley civilization by Anthony Browder. That's an excellent book to start off with. So those would be good starting points. And there's a lot of books out there, but those would be a good starting point. I just remembered J. Rogers, Amazing Facts about the Negro. That's another good book that he has.
Okay.
You know, so I start off with him because he's considered the founder of Black history.
Well, Black history, is so important because, like you were saying in the beginning, that we look at Black History Month. We know that it started with 1 week and it went to a month, but Black history, we need to talk about it every week, every month, because it's so important. And then with what's going on right now is that the critical race theory, a lot of people now don't want that taught in school, where they say they don't want it taught in school, but it's never taught in school, K through 12.
You know what? And it's funny, when people in the right ring in politics actually use this word false flag a lot. And they are the carriers of false flags every single day. Critical race theory is an example of a false flag. I hate to use that verbiage, but it's classic example. It's subterfuge. Because what critical race theory teaches isn't in elementary schools. It's within law schools. It's taught within it's a school of thought of jurisprudence. It is not an academic discipline that you teach K through 12. But they use it as a subterfuge so that white people don't have to learn the history of themselves. And that Black people and brown people don't have to learn the history of themselves to have a greater self-esteem. I think Dr. Wade Nobles once said, power is the ability to define reality and to have other people respond to it as if it was their very own. So if they're able to define our reality, they're still able to have power over us. Excellent. I think Carter G. Woodson said, in the miseducation of a Negro, if you educate us right or miseducate us right, we don't have to look for the back door. If there isn't a back door, we will create one and walk right through it.
It's funny you just mentioned that. I just read that book that said that just what you just said.
And the other part of it is that I don't want to call it scary times, but over the weekend there were a couple of new documentaries that are coming out in regards to going all the way back to Africa and bringing and how we got over here and how we were so resilient. As much as they tried to destroy us, we were very resilient in forging ahead, teaching ourselves. And most of these documentaries are being done by white people. And I'm saying how, we need to, and I can't do it, but we need to be able to discover our history, go back to Africa and come bring ourselves forward and let us build our own foundation. We don't need, or I don't want white people telling me and teaching me my history, because I've known for years that they miseducated us, and that was intentional. And the whole thing is that as we merge and we have more interracial or integrated families, we're being diluted. And how do we, even though we're being diluted, is still a history that needs to be taught and to be learned. And I'm going to be checking out these books that you spoke about. But when we look, like I was looking at the news today for Ohio, just giving an example, and they are now getting ready to go to the courts because they did redistricting. And everybody on the panel with the governor, they were all white. And then now they're going to take it to the judge, and his son is one of the judges that will be deciding on these redistricting. And they were all white. They show pictures. And I'm just saying, if we're to look like this country, when are we going to now get into these political spots where we can have an influence and not just have everything being one-sided? That's a question. Hello?
Repeat that one time for me,
Okay.
please.
As an example, right? I was looking at the news today about Ohio and their redistricting and how the maps are unfair, where it disenfranchises certain communities. And the governor wants to pass these redistricting that is completely off. It's not giving proper representation to all communities. And so he signed it into law, and the people who was on his panel, in addition to him, they were all white. And then now his son is one of the judges that are going to decide the redistricting, along with some other people, and they were all white. And what I'm saying is that why is it not more of a blend of what this country looks like? How do we regain or get some of this power that they have, where they can turn things around?
Well, it looks like let's go back to history.
Okay.
Dred Scott decision. Chief Justice says there isn't a law that a white man is bound to respect when it comes to the black man. That's a paraphrase, not a direct quote. And we got to remember that every time that we're dealing with white people in this country. What we're probably witnessing, and it's a failure, in my opinion, of the Democratic Party to speak up in these terms, what I'm about to say. The Republican Party is doing a slow drip towards an apartheid formal system. What they're playing with, because as the browner America gets, how they're creating a minority rule system, and that's what they're creating. They clear that they're going to be the minority quickly, all right? And we don't know how fast these demographic terms are going. I remember Frances Cress Welsing, in an article that she wrote in Essence. It actually was a interview she had in Essence in 1980. She projected by the year 2070 that white people would be a minority in this country. It's probably faster than that. You're dealing with a situation where you have 21 states where there's negative population growth amongst white people. Europe is already suffering negative population growth amongst white people. So as they numbers decrease, we're going to see the level of hatred or hate crimes increase. We're going to see the level of what they're playing with critical race theory, like you said, gerrymandering, redistricting. You're going to see all those things increase in their attempt to try to grab and to hold on to power. That's why McConnell tried to pack the courts because he understood that he may not have the votes to maintain white supremacy in the way that he thinks he wants it to look like. But if he can have the courts, they can hold on to it a little bit longer. The reason why I say the Democratic Party is failing, I don't like to do a whole bunch of bad Democrats, because I think the Republicans are far worse than what they're doing than whatever the Democrats are failing to do. But they're not calling Republicans out on what they're doing clearly. They're not being explicit. There's too much. Well, we're going to still act like it's still pre-Trump. No, it's post-Trump. We need to get our boots on and we need to start going to war. Well, not in the way, not physical war, but we need to be mentally combating them.
Okay.
With a warlike mentality. Because that's how they're coming at us. With a warlike mentality.
Okay. So, all righty. So I just know that we have to just continue to not only educate ourselves, educate our children. But in closing, Mr. Gary Smith, and we want to thank you so much for coming on. Could you give us a closing statement as to just encouragement? I mean, it's not funny, but we need to keep our heads moving and just give us some encouraging words in closing.
Listen, Robert Harris gave us the best encouragement. We baby kids. We don't die, we multiply. No, seriously. We have survived. We are the first people on the planet. We've been here for millions of years. We will continue to be here for millions of years. We are strong, resilient people. We are mighty people. Marcus Garvey said, "Of ye mighty race." And key word, mighty. We are a mighty race. Going back to what you were saying before I let you go, I had to look this up real quick. Talking about documentaries by us, all right?
Yes.
There's a documentary called Motherland. It's filmed by Owen Sadell. I can't pronounce the name right. Mm-hmm. But that's a good documentary if you want to watch it. It's on Amazon.
Okay.
All right. Came out in 2010. Ancestral Voices. They're a group out of UK. All right. They have good documentaries on ancient African culture and spirituality. If you want to check that out.
All righty.
So and then what's the 500 Years? That's another good documentary. Talking about the Ma'afa or the slave trade or the Black Holocaust.
Okay.
But that's also has a lot of encouragement in there as well. So there's a lot of documentaries.
Okay, Gary, we thank you again so much, for being here today, and hopefully one day we'll be able to meet in person. But until then, God bless. And again, thank you for, coming in and giving us a history, on Black History Month.
All right. Thank you.
And thank you so much.
All right.
Okay. So I would encourage everyone because there was a lot of information, a lot of things that we can use to build ourselves and make us stronger in our history. There's a lot of books that are out there. Some people are natural readers and some are natural viewers. They might need to not read, but also to see and to hear movies and documentaries on TV. So again, let us strengthen ourselves as we're wrapping up Black History Month, and just understand that our history is so overwhelming that we cannot be contained in a month, and that every day we must do things to keep ourselves educated. This is News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Boston Hill. We are going on to our last half of our show, but we always want to thank Awesome Radio 106.9 FM WBIS LP for giving us this voice in order to keep ourselves educated with history and also local news.
One of the things that Gary said, Renee, that has sort of stuck with me is the fact that, he mentioned the mental war that we need to establish within certain communities, because it's not necessarily a physical war, but it's a mental war where you read and you learn. And this way, once you read and you learn, you can communicate with anyone and everyone.
Yes, okay. And also self-help, there's a lot of with particularly well, it started way before the pandemic, but self-help, okay, or self-healing, like going back into ourselves where we can strengthen ourselves, because just living day to day, there's so much going on, so much turmoil, worrying about, am I going to get the virus? And again, as we started the show, you can still get the virus. People are still dying of the virus. And we want to make sure that our listeners understand that there's a lot to take on, and self-help, self-healing, mental help, mental feeling is something that we must do every day. Now, before our call came in, I was going to just go over the names quickly of our North Carolinians who did not vote to certify the election. We must watch the history of these legislators, know where they're getting their monies from, and what is strengthening them as a voice in their communities. So we have Richard Hudson, who serves out of Fayetteville and Fort Bragg, which is the largest military base of number of personnel. We have lawmakers like Rep. Virginia Fox, David Rouser, Greg Murphy, Madison Cawthorn, Ted Budd, and Dan Bishop. For North Carolina, these are the people who did not certify the election. They believe the lie. They're still spreading the lie that Trump is the president. And anybody who can now say that out of their mouth, any legislator, we must look at them, do homework. If they're incumbents and they're running for re-election, we must know their history.
Well, I just want to mention something right quick because I think it's so important. But just in the United States, the coronavirus cases, I'm going to give you some numbers. It's been 80,087,617. That's a lot of cases. And now the deaths has been 959,412. Again, that's a lot of deaths. But then when you look at that, you got to multiply that by the families, the wife or the husband or the children or the grandchildren, and that was left behind. And out of that, only 51 million out of the 80 million, 51 million have recovered. So that's what we're talking about. We want you to understand that yes, you can recover if you are vaccinated, but the ones that are unvaccinated, they are the ones that get sick the worst. Am I right on that so far, Miss Renee? Well, now this is President's Day.
Yes, it is.
So can we talk about that a little bit?
Sure, we can. Today is President's Day, and we're here at Awesome Radio 106.9 FM WBIS. And listening audience, you can see us in so many ways on Facebook, on YouTube. Awesome Radio YouTube has us up there. We're also, Calvin, on our local TV channel 23. And you can get to see, again, in so many ways what Renee.
I'm just going to say that, if you want to see a pretty young lady, look at channel 23. That's what's going on in my world.
Okay. All right.
But talking about President's Day, I'm going to give us a little history on that because President's Day is a federal holiday celebrated on the third Monday in February. President's Day 2022 today, the 21st, February 21st, originally established in 1885. Now, I didn't know that until I started looking stuff up. In recognition of President George Washington, the holiday became popularly known as President's Day after it was moved as part of 1971's Uniform Monday Holiday Act, an attempt to create more three-day weekends for the nation workers. And that's important too, because this way you get a 3-day weekend out of it. I won't get my mail today, but it's okay. I'll get it tomorrow, hopefully.
The bills.
Yeah. While several states still have individual holidays honoring birthdays of Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and other figures, President Day is now popular viewed as a day to celebrate all U.S. presidents, past and present. The thing too, Renee, is that it's so important because, believe it or not, I'm going to throw a little gem out there for people to look up. We recognize President Obama as our first African American president. That's just the way it is in today. But go back some years, many, many years, and see if you can find any other Black, Native American, or African American presidents. Just check it out. And how we doing, Renee?
We're doing okay. You're doing good, Calvin.
I'm doing good. Oh my goodness gracious! Did y'all hear that on the radio? My wife says, "Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Renee said I'm doing good."
There. If you look worldwide, there were other black presidents, and probably still are, particularly in the continent of Africa, because they too practice history or practice that type of government. But if you speak about President Barack Obama, in honor of Black History Month, well, then he was the first American, or maybe, I don't know, they have images of other first African American presidents, and they were presidents of various organizations. Of course, we have that also. But do you have more information about President Obama, or is there something else you want to talk about?
Well, yeah, there's always other topics that we want to talk about, but we celebrate President Obama as being the first African American president of the United States, and we cannot forget Michelle Obama, because she was a great figure as a first lady. We a lot of times we forget about first ladies, but she was a great figure as a first lady, and maybe one day she'll run for office. We don't know. But I just put that out there.
And then we also had the first Black woman to be president when President Biden went under for a colonoscopy. She stepped in, and she was another Black president for a few hours.
And that is so important, because you hit that right on the head. See, that's why you do your homework, because Kamala Harris,
Vice President Kamala Harris,
right,
was President Kamala Harris for a few hours when President Biden had to have a colonoscopy.
Now that's going to be a good trivia, a question later on, because you can't miss that one. That was very good. But just change the topic a little bit. The latest legal setbacks for I hate to say it, but I got to say it, for 45, that was Trump. The National Archives confirmed Trump took classified information to Florida. Taking classified information to your home is illegal. We know that, and there are definitely repercussions behind that, because you do stuff like that, it will prevent you from ever holding public office again.
Thank you.
And that is what we're looking at here. But we just want to see what the Department of Justice is going to do about that. We are still waiting to see what they're doing. The judge also rejected efforts to dismiss lawsuits. Trump, he filed all the different lawsuits, but they were rejected. He keep losing. Last week was a bad week for 45. He keep losing, but he have that right to file. And he's filing. But now he's on the downtrend, Not only that, but judges says Trump must testify in New York probe over business practices. Now, I'm pretty sure he's going to be just like his son. When he goes there to testify, he's going to plead the fifth. But one of the things that he did say, that if you plead the fifth, then you must be guilty. I remember him saying that, and I just wish that
who said that? Trump said that.
Trump said,
you're right, that when you plead the fifth, then that means that you're guilty. Yeah. So if he or his children, who also have to come there, they too will plead the fifth. And the thing is that they have to go between two states. There's a civil lawsuit which does not allow them to plead the fifth, and they will have to talk.
Right. And you see, when he was talking about Hillary Clinton, when she said that she was going to plead the fifth, well, that's when he made that statement that if you plead the fifth, you must be guilty. I'm sure y'all have seen that on TV, you know. And that's one of the things that, you know, we're talking about, because if you say something, then you need to stick to that, because a lot of times we have to watch what comes out of our mouth, because it comes back to haunt us. You know, the other thing is, you know, Trump accounting firm declares financial statements. Now, that's the other thing. He's had this accounting firm for over 10 years, you know, if not longer. And then all of a sudden they dropped him. Now, that says right there that, and even they said, you can't believe everything that they have said in reference to his financial status or his accounting that they've done, because of the different properties that he have. One day it's up in price value, then the next day it's down, depending on how he want to use it. So these are the things, Renee, that we are talking about, and not only talking about, but we're letting our awesome radio listeners know that you have to listen with the third ear. You know, that third ear is so important, and read with the third eye, because that third eye will later tell you, well, I saw this here, and now with the third ear, it says, I listen and I understand what I heard.
Right. And again, we know that there are certain words that we use in our community. And most of the times, just like how styles go, Black people will start a style or a way of dressing. And then before you know it, white people are doing it. And what happens is that when we own something and then they change the narrative, like we use in our community, you better stay woke. And now they are changing the narrative of what woke means. And it's not to be, we don't mean it in a negative way. And when we speak about the third eye and the third ear, is that that's a sense of being awake and being conscious of what is your surroundings and what is happening in the world. You can know not only to stay with your family, you now have to understand what is going on in the world, because how the critical race theory, CRT, that whole narrative has been twisted, and it's been used as a force to organize and to put fear in white people, saying that, oh, we have to tell our children, or we have to talk about how Black history is being taught in our schools. And it should not be that way, because teaching about race since January 2021, there have been 37 states to introduce measures to limit how history about race is being taught. 14 states laws or rules to enforce these restrictions. So, one of the things that we got out of our show today is that we had a guest, Mr. Gary Smith, come on, and he gave books, he gave names, and that's the basic where we can start. We can not only we can when you speak about miseducation, we cannot rely on public schools to be able to, or any school really, to teach the true history of Black people. And we have to take on that responsibility within our families and start to teach our children what we want them to know and what we feel can empower them and bring on their self esteem. We are a proud people with a good history, and we should not be allowing people to how can I say saturate or to devalue, to devalue it. So and then the teachers are tackling Black History Month right now under restrictions, what they can talk about, what they can't talk about. But there's so much information, so much documentation, that we can bring this history to our children. We can bring this history to ourselves. And we have got to understand that it's been like put into us that American history and the books that we learned from is the history. And now that we are older, now that we have the power, we can now open up books and learn history for ourselves.
We know, Renee, years ago, our grandparents, we used to sit around and listen to them tell us the history. But then when they start dying off, well, we have young grandparents now, and a lot of them don't even know the history. But the thing too, like you're talking about teachers, well, teachers now tackle Black History Month under new restrictions, meaning that they have a problem teaching Black history because of certain uh, Board of Education.
Well, and certain laws have been passed to enforce these restrictions.
And that's so important because, I think that if you're going to talk about Black history or history, just forget about Black history for a second. If you're going to talk about history, you have to put in how Black folks built this country. When you think of the White House, well, look at that. That should be really the Black House because Black slaves built that White House. But we don't talk about those things. We need to know facts, and facts. It's just like, when someone tells you something, even when we tell you something right here on News and Politics with Renee Boston Hill, look it up. Make sure that we tell you the truth.
And call in at 252-756-2008 and say, listen, we want to just add to what your conversation is because we have more information on the subject matter.
And I see that because we're on Facebook, I see individuals, they are sending us messages, on Facebook. But, again, we see that. And I would like for our Awesome Radio listeners to also hear you express your opinion about some of the things that we talk about.
But again, not only are we going to stay focused on the African American or the Black History Month, and we're going to carry that into next month and give a little conversation because, again, education is power. Voting is power. We're coming up here locally in North Carolina starting February the 24th, Calvin, which is just in a couple of days. They're going to be opening up people to file for various positions. I say to you, parents, go to your PTA meetings, go to your school board meetings, listen to the people. And what it is that they're saying is important. And if what they're saying is not important to you, then this is your opportunity to have your voice heard. Because if we do not speak up now, trust me, we will not be able to speak up later.
Well, just to add on to that, Renee, I also suggest that when we have these meetings, we need to have them at a time where people can attend them. Not at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening when people are off work.
Right. And that would be very helpful, but again, we just need to know, if you're going to be involved and you have to participate 100%. I don't go to my city council meetings. I don't go to certain meetings. I just, maybe because of the pandemic, I've been restraining myself, and we can always make up an excuse. But then I'm going to just ask our listening audience, Calvin, that maybe between now and next week, they can stop the miseducation on the vaccine. And if you know people, because people are dying from the unvaccinated is dying from the virus, perhaps maybe you can talk to a person to go and get vaccinated. And then again, register a family member to vote. Perhaps you have family members that have not registered, and that. We know, again, the power is in the vote, and we are going to need to increase our volume of voting come these elections. We need to make sure that our voice is heard through voting. And again, we're going to ask that you attend a PTA meeting or some kind of meeting and hear what is going on. Because again, it's municipal elections that are coming up. And this is where they get to say and determine how your money is spent, how much money is sent into these various things. And people are going to want your vote. So why don't we need to do something towards that. And then also volunteer. If you're retired and you're sitting in your house and you're good of health, do a little volunteering at a pantry maybe, or a food bank. And then also donate to a cause that is important to you, so that you can feel that you have not only a voice input, but you have a monetary input in something that is important to you. And that can also stress into elections. But Calvin, our show is over again. Okay.
It's over again.
Yes. And so this is News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Borston Hill. We are here at Awesome Radio 106.9 FM WBIS. And jot this number down, 252-756-2008. Be the first to call us next week.
You have a blessed week. Stay safe, wear your mask, and get vaccinated.
Okay. And again, donate to a cause that is important to you.